A really, really warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us on this really, really special day. Both of you, to those of you joining us here in the hall and also online, there are people watching us on our live stream. Thank you for joining us. I'm Daisy Swift, and I'm the Director of Learning and Participation here at Wigmore Hall. Huge thank you to Hannah, Lucy and Joe, first of all, for that really beautiful improvised music. We thought that was an appropriate way to start a day that's all about music. And for those of you who are less familiar with our programme here at Wigmore Hall, and the Wigmore Hall Learning programme specifically, we strive to harness music's really special power to enable self-expression, to connect people and to create communities. And our core values of creativity, collaboration and equality are at the heart of all of our work. And we work in partnership with musicians, with the people taking part in our programmes, with education, healthcare and social care organisations to together create inspiring, enriching and impactful creative music making. And we hope that that responds to the realities and the complexities and the challenges that our communities face. And we lead this activity with children, with young people, with families, schools and with people living with dementia. And we want to live in a society in which people living with dementia are fully included, respected and treated with dignity. And that vision guides every piece of Music for Life activity, every rehearsal, every discussion, every performance, and hopefully you'll experience some of that today. Now we're here because Music for Life is 30 years old this year, and I'm honoured to have been a part of it for a third of that time here at Wigmore Hall. And everyone in this room and online will have their own experience and perspective on this programme, whether you're a musician, a group member, an organiser, a supporter, or indeed the programme's founder, Linda Rose, who is with us today. And a special and heartfelt thank you to Linda. We literally wouldn't be here without you. But thank you all for your contributions, which have shaped the programme to become what it is today. And you might be new to this programme, so to you I extend a really warm welcome and a thank you for joining us. Today is about sharing and celebrating the programme that Music for Life has been and has evolved to become, and to bring us all together. And it's a chance for you to experience parts of the programme you might be familiar with, to reconnect with those experiences, or to try new experiences. And I hope you all have a really fulfilling, enriching, and enjoyable day. Now I'm going to hand over to our Senior Programme Manager, Lydia, who has led the Music for Life programme with incredible care, compassion, thoughtfulness, and huge commitment. And before I do, I'm just going to, a couple more thank yous, I promise. Firstly, to our director, John Gilhooly, for his leadership and his support. To the truly incredible Wigmore Hall Learning team, who are just amazing team with passion and commitment. So thank you. And an extra special thank you to Lydia for all the work that she does and for getting us to this point and to this exciting day. Thank you.
Thanks, Daisy. Hi, good morning, everyone. It's so good to be with you today in person and online as well. Welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us. So yeah, we're here to celebrate Music for Life, which has been going for 30 years now, which is amazing. And I think at the heart of that work is this real deep care and for individuals, for every person, no matter who they are. And yeah, I think it's this care and for others that remains at the heart of the programme and that has sustained it for all of this time, through all the changes in the sector and in the world that we're living in. So Linda founded the programme in 1993 with a vision to see the way that people living with dementia are cared for transformed, with music being the key to this. And Linda, you've worked with such integrity and skill, and you're still bringing your wisdom and care to the programme today. So thank you so much for that, and for supporting us and mentoring us. So across the Music for Life programme, we're aiming to support the well-being of everyone involved. So that includes people living with dementia, but also their families, carers, staff, and the musicians who take part in the work. And that does look different for everyone involved. But it may involve having the chance to develop meaningful connections, to experience agency, to be present in the moment, to express ourselves creatively, to have purpose, and to learn something new. And we're also aiming to strengthen the understanding of experiences of people living with dementia, and hoping that that can lead to a shift in perceptions around dementia, moving away from the narrative, which is often of fear and loss, to one of hope and possibility. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of what is happening with Music for Life today, a bit of an overview of the programme. So to begin with, we have our projects in care settings, and this is where the work began back in 1993, and it continues to be at the heart of the programme. So we lead improvisation-based sessions with residents and care staff over a series of weeks. We support the staff to choose residents who may most benefit from being involved, and that may mean prioritising those with more advanced dementia or individuals who might be excluded from other activities. And this work is as much for the care staff as it is the residents, both to support their well-being, but also to create opportunities for them to learn about their residents and to see them in a different light. So we have a long-standing partnership with Jewish Care, who have been involved from the very beginning and who we still work with today. You'll see some photos. This is from a recent project working with some staff at one of the Jewish care homes. And you'll actually hear from some members of Jewish Care in our panel discussion later. So a couple more photos for you. As well as our work with Jewish Care, we are commissioned to lead projects in local care homes by the NHS. And now we're moving outside of our care home settings. So this is Monday Afternoons, which is our project for people living with young onset dementia and their families. And our group meets fortnightly, once a month in person and once a month online now, and that's something that develops during the pandemic. And we do have a workshop this afternoon, which is themed around Monday afternoons. Some of our team and participants will be here with us. So here we are, a session very close to Christmas, hence the Santa hat, if you can spot that. And a couple of photos from online. So also outside of our care settings, we work really closely with Resonate Arts, and they're one of our key partners. And Resonate Arts, they lead a program of creative activities and experiences for people living with dementia in Westminster and in Kensington and Chelsea. And their aim is to support well-being and quality of life, and to be a catalyst for positive change, reducing social isolation and building strong communities. Resonate Arts play a really crucial role in our projects, in engaging and supporting our participants, building relationships with those individuals from the very first point of when they are referred to Resonate Arts, often from GPs or social prescribers, and to being present in our sessions, responding to people's changing needs and supporting travel to and from the sessions as well. We also work closely with the Royal Academy of Music, and specifically their Open Academy, which is their community and participation department. And the Open Academy gives students the chance to gain skills and experience in community and participation work. And our partnership offers those students, both undergraduates, postgraduates, and also fellows, the chance to be involved in projects with the Music for Life team to develop their work living with people living with dementia. Now, both Resonate Arts and the Academy are involved in quite a few of our projects, so we'll run through those now. So the first is Singing with Friends, which you can see they're here on stage. This was in September. And Singing with Friends is our choir for people living with dementia and their families who are local in Westminster and Kensington and Chelsea. So they meet every week here at Wigmore and once a fortnight online as well. And they give regular performances here on stage. So there's one. And this was back in more of the depth of the pandemic when we had all sorts of measures in place to ensure we could keep meeting. And we also lead Music for Thought, which is our creative music project for people living locally, which are improvisation-based, but also often draw on other art forms like poetry and photography. We have a Music for Thought themed workshop happening this morning, which some of you may well be going to. That's also in partnership with the Royal Academy and Resonate Arts. And we also have... Sorry, this is still Music for Thought. We have Music for the Moment concerts, which is a monthly concert series, with concerts happening here at Wigmore and at St. Marylebone Parish Church. And we're aiming to create a really inclusive environment for families living with dementia to enjoy concerts in these spaces. And the newest strand of our program is Out of the Ordinary. And here's a screenshot from a session. Very hard to get one where everyone's eyes are open, but we got pretty close there. So this project, again, we lead in partnership with the Academy and also with Rare Dementia Support, which is a world-leading UK-based service led by the UCL Dementia Research Centre. So we lead online sessions with families who are affected by rare dementias, together with Music for Life musicians and musicians from the Academy. And this project came about during the pandemic in response to the need to create meaningful and creative times of connection during a time of increased isolation. For those of you who are staying in the auditorium at 11, you're in for a treat. You're going to see a bit of an online Out of the Ordinary project happening live here at Wigmore, as it's never happened before. And our final strand of work is our training and development strand. So reflective practice is really important for us at Music for Life, and we build that in across the program. We also have regular team sessions for the musicians and facilitators involved. And we lead a range of training programs here at Wigmore as well. And this season, we launched a new training and development scheme specifically for Music for Life, which is supporting emerging musicians and vocal leaders into the field. We also have supported many other organisations in the development of their own work, which is inspired by the programme, both nationally and internationally. And we're currently working in partnership with Music Circles, which is in Switzerland. Very pleased to have some of their team here today. And the final strand of this work is we are involved in several research studies. We have been, including a recent one which was supported by the NHS and the Wellcome Trust. And most recently, we've been working with Unmapped, which is a creative transdisciplinary research group that specialise in arts and well-being. So that's the overview of the programme. I have a few notes for you about today. So I'll just run through those quickly, and then we will be on to our first session. So we have a photographer here, James. If you don't want to be photographed today, please just let a member of staff know or James know, and that's totally fine. Everything in the auditorium is being live streamed. And during Out of the Ordinary, there is going to be a camera on the audience here so that we can see some of you, and so the participants online can see you. If you don't want to be in that for whatever reason, please just move towards the back of the hall during that session. If you don't know, the bathrooms are downstairs. There's also a cloakroom open throughout the day. Lunch isn't provided, I'm afraid, but you are welcome to bring your own food into the restaurant if you'd like to. So, in a few minutes, we will be having our first breakout session, and we also have other breakouts happening at 1 o'clock. Hopefully you've signed up to come to something. If you haven't, don't worry. there's plenty of space in all the auditorium sessions. The smaller workshops are fully booked, so if you're going to those sessions, please just go, and your name should be on the list if you give the book a name. Please try and arrive at the relevant location at the start of each session. We will do some announcements, but yeah, if you can make your own way there as well, that would be helpful. And also we have a few materials from the Music for Life archive down in the restaurant, which you are welcome to explore throughout the day. So now it's time to move to the first breakout session. So if you are staying in here, brilliant. If you are going downstairs to our Music for Thought workshop, that will be happening in the Beckstein room. So you need to go out these doors, down the stairs, and you'll find it. If you are taking part in our care home project themed session, you'll be in the large rehearsal room. So you'll need to go out these doors here, all the way up the stairs, and you'll meet our team there. So now we are going to reset, get ready for our Out of the Ordinary session. So bear with us for a few minutes whilst we sort out the technicalities, and we'll be back with you. Thank you. Okay, hi again, everyone. So if you're still here, we're presuming you're here for Out of the Ordinary. So I'd like to introduce you to Caroline and Inigo here. And just before we begin, just to say a special thank you to Caroline, who has been involved with Music for Life since the very, very beginning. Caroline, your care, your thought, your kindness and generosity has just been incredible throughout the whole time that I've been involved, and I know for all the years before that. So thank you so much for all you have done. Your creativity and courage as well to try new ideas, as we are seeing right now, is astounding. So thank you, Caroline. You're amazing. So this is our most technically challenging part of the day. We hope it works. Please bear with us if it doesn't. But in a minute, we will be joined by some other team members, by Hermione, who's part of the Music for Life team, who's actually joining us from Spain, and also by Esther, who's from the Royal Academy of Music, and our amazing Out of the Ordinary participants who are joining from their own homes across the UK. I'm going to stop talking and hand over to Caroline now, once we've put this on.
Thanks, Lydia. That's great. Can anybody hear me okay? That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. What's going to happen any moment is that we are going to be let into our Zoom room up there. Hermione will let us in. And then we want to give you a flavour of what happens in that room. I hope it will actually be, I hope I do deserve any of what Lydia's just said about me, because this might be a good test of it, if not. What we're aiming for is something that feels human and real, and that we can do that through the use of tech. And hopefully you'll be able to be involved in that a little bit, if you want to, if that's how the mood takes us, and if we can see our way clear to making that possible. Otherwise, there's no expectation to do anything other than enjoy to be in this space together. What happens on these sessions is we set a kind of a theme, and then we roll with it. We look at what people have seen with the eyes of that theme, and then we collect a whole host of images. We share them and look at them in each section that we're in. And then we take a creative direction from them, from everybody who's part of it. So if you are moved to join in any way, please do. And we'll wait for Hermione to let us into the room. We'll be joined by Inigo. I should have introduced Inigo properly. So we will start our session, as we've started the day, by framing it our way into the space with music, and There's no expectation to do anything other than just listen to that. The sessions feel spacious, so don't worry if there are spaces in them. Hopefully into that space will come some of our little quiet connections. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Can you hear us?
Hi.
Oh, I think
I wonder-
Caroline and Inigo are still muted.
They are still muted and their video is still off. I wonder if they can hear us.
Oh,
Here they are.
Hello.
Hooray.
Hello. Oh, it's so great you're here. It always has such a sort of wonderful threshold of anxiety of thinking whether people will be with us or not. So, can we see the auditorium? Because we'd like for everybody to give you a wave.
Shall I spotlight the auditorium, Caroline?
But we can't see the seats, can we? We should see if you can see us up there.
Morning, Louise.
Hi.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Louise.
We have
In the room
John
next door.
Samuel. Sorry. Here we go.
Get to go.
Yeah. We'll begin as we always do. Thank you for being willing to experiment with us in these sessions. Look at that, that's perfectly symmetrical now. You fill the stage.
Perfect timing, John Samuel.
So
Thank
we'll
you for
have our
joining us.
framing music as we always do. It's a recorded track that we leave space in for everybody who's going to travel with the Out of the Ordinary project over a series of sessions can contribute to. So at the moment, it has Inigo and I, and it will gradually have Esther and Simon and all the students who are going to join us on our way. So we're in the midst of a series of sessions. You're joining us now. So let's have our framing music then, please. Well, that's a fragment of our framing music, waiting to beckon you in. Let's continue then as we're going to. So to everybody in our Zoom room, we welcome two guest musicians today. Esther, who some of you have met before. Do you see Esther with her harp, who's in London? And then Hermione in Spain, as always. And Inigo is our guest musician on the accordion with me here at Wigmore. So before we began, we spoke about the theme for our project, which this time has been the edge. At the edge, thinking about the transition between winter and spring, collecting some images that sort of showed that edge in slightly different ways. And as always, our participants have taken that in a whole host of different ways. And we've got a whole load of photographs that you've taken when considering every day through the eyes of that theme. So what we've done is to choose a couple. Well, we invited Esther and Inigo to choose some of the images that they particularly responded to in our collection. And they've chosen one that was a close-up of the path at Geraldine and Chris, your favourite place. I'm wondering if maybe you'll tell us about this photograph, and that we can call the photograph so we can see it, and then Esther will say what she's responded to in it and play for us.
It's perfect that we go to Geraldine and Chris, because Luna has made the most incredibly majestic performance. I don't know if I can spotlight you just for a moment, because it's just a perfect moment. There we go. I mean, it's just like, how blissful. Look at that.
I think she really liked the framing music. She came for that.
Yeah, she did. I think she did. And she doesn't normally, we're not normally in this room, so she's taking advantage of the availability of our laps this morning.
There we go. So I'll just take you off the spotlight. And shall I get the image up, Caroline? Would you like to see it?
Yes, please. Let's have a look. So we have a collection of images that we work through, and what always happens is that as we're looking at them, they overlap. People find what we like to think of as our snap moments of the things that connect to each person.
And this is
Geraldine and
from
Chris, you
Geraldine
made
and
this
Chris.
too, didn't you, in one of our previous series?
Yes, right at the beginning.
This is
do you want me to talk about that
yes,
then, Caroline?
if you'd like to, Geraldine.
Okay, we have a very beautiful place near where we live. We live in North Norfolk, and this place is called Natural Surroundings. It's a small area of Norfolk that's just dedicated to maintaining and developing wildflowers in the area. So it's a place we go to often. There aren't very many people that know about it, so even in the height of summer you can feel as though you're completely on your own there. And there is this boardwalk that goes out into the wet meadows, the water meadows, and we went on a day a few weeks ago when it was really, really frosty. This was about midday, and still the frost was as it is in the picture. And we just couldn't resist taking the photo of this, where you see that little blade of something or other growing through the boardwalk, covered in frost, but there is that promise of new life and greenness and warmth coming.
And that photograph of the boardwalk itself sort of surfed a sort of edge from frozen foreground, and then weaving its way into the sort of greenness of the promise of spring in the future. So we absolutely loved the idea of it, and the idea of the edge, the being on the cusp, the becoming on the way to spring. So when we showed the photos to Esther, you liked this one, didn't you, Esther? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll bring you up to play?
I did. Can everyone hear me? Because I know my sound wasn't the best earlier.
Good. Getting thumbs up here.
Yeah. Wonderful. I just loved it. I really loved the textures. Really spoke to me, because I love all the landscapes we do. We don't often see sort of more close-up pictures, and I loved the twisting of the wire against the sort of fractured bits of the frost. And like you were saying, Geraldine, I really loved the promise of new life in amongst this picture that's it's such a perfect, like you see that and you almost feel cold.
So it had, of course, some overlaps with some of the images we'd considered before. So the hexagonal pattern reminds us of our bee patterns that we've been looking at before. I don't know if that comes up at all on there, but it reminds me of your bee cushion, Mike.
Well, Mike had got there it is.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Yeah. So there's a bee overlap with our previous series. And that idea of the patterns, the closeness of it, and the frostiness waiting to be something else. We want to bring you up bigger, Esther, so we can hear you play in response to that photograph. Sounds so beautiful. Really lovely. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you, Esther. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Could you picture yourselves
Beautiful.
there, Chris and Geraldine?
Oh yes, and it just sounded very twinkly at the beginning, and it just made me think of the sunlight on those little tiny little tendrils of frost, and then towards the end thinking about the sunlight coming and the warmth. So yes, it was beautiful, really lovely. Thank you.
Illustrated that perfectly, and we, having been on the Jurassic Coast for the whole of this week, yesterday we were walking along where the ice frozen sidewalk was. As we walked along the beach, it was melting, and through it little yellow crocuses were just poking through and looking like exactly like that sounded.
Crocuses are actually one of my favourite flowers because they come
There
first
they are.
in the spring. So.
Of course they are.
It just looks so perfect.
Of course they are.
But as Leslie said, the sun and the sparkling and that, and we sort of stood in wonderment because it just looked so perfect. Yeah, it did.
We haven't.
Who did I cross over with? Go ahead, Christine.
we haven't got any crocuses here yet. We're in the north of England in Harrogate. So, but Harrogate is famous for the crocuses, the carpet, the stray, the 100 acres of grassland that surround the town centre. And in a few weeks' time, it will be absolutely magnificent with all these thousands upon thousands of crocuses amongst the trees there.
We'll be able to feel that edge.
Snowdrops.
You'll send us a photo of that, no doubt. Yeah, we've got lots of snowdrops here, yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, John.
And daffodils are starting too around here.
We are really on that cusp.
Absolutely.
As the cyclone said.
What's happened?
You're crossing.
John and Louise, were you about to say something? I think I cut you off.
Oh, no, I was going to agree with Steve that Christine will have to send a photo of the flowers when they all come up.
We'll be able to notice the kind of wave northwards, won't we, of spring. I have a feeling, John Samuel, did you put some photographs of tiny yellow crocuses just appearing into our photograph album just yesterday?
Yes, I did, yeah. They just started to come out on our local street borders, you know.
You can see those little flickers. Things.
Yes, and then, they were yellow, but I've just noticed that this morning when I walked out that the purple ones have just started to show. Not quite there yet, but yeah.
Lovely.
Well, look forward to that. So I was thinking that the frosty pictures were going to be miles outside of season by the time we got to now, except it seems to have crept back in. So we're still back in frosty land here in the south. And the photograph that you chose is of an edge, a slightly different edge, not really the edge towards spring, but a kind of twilight gloaming edge of mist. Maybe we can have a look at that one, Hermione, and hear you play, Nico?
Of course.
This one was a photograph I took, actually. It's of a walk on the winter solstice. And it was the most extraordinary thing because the light sort of went. And then just in this valley, the mist was rolling into the valley. I've never seen anything like it. And it was absolutely magical. And I'm so glad that you picked this one. It is lovely when you get to see somebody else enjoying a sight that you've seen. I think that's one of the things we find most, isn't it? Do you want to tell us what you responded to?
Well, I like this one very much. Well, thinking of edges, the edge between the field and the forest, it's very well defined by the mist. And also it has this magical kind of old mythological aspect to it. I don't know how, it came to me a bit like this. And it was on the solstice as well, although I didn't know that at the moment, so it even adds a bit more to the magic of the scene. I think that's why. And also the lights in the sky is like, has all the elements.
So, speaking of magic, it's over to you.
No pressure.
No pressure. Okay. Shall we bring, Hermione, shall we leave the photograph or bring Inigo up?
Whichever you prefer. What would you prefer, Inigo?
I don't mind.
Let's be able to see Inigo a bit bigger.
I think that's better too. Here we go. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone.
Sally, I have to be in it as well, because I'm next to you.
You'll have to indicate the image.
so lovely to sit next to you when you're playing that. It's an amazing feeling. I wish you could have that as well. That's one of the downsides of being online, isn't it? So
I thought that was very Parisienne. Took me back to a spring holiday we had in Paris. There was something about the tunes that just reminded me of Paris.
Maybe it's the sound of the accordion. It's so magical.
Yeah, amazing sound.
It's amazing just to watch the instrument as well. It's like it's alive, it's growing and contracting.
Somehow it breathes.
Pardon?
Somehow it breathes. It needs the air to.
Yeah.
So it's like
a
big lung.
It's a good view, actually, isn't it? We hadn't appreciated when it's so fully open how that looks, how incredible that looks on the screen.
It made me think of the earth breathing. The constancy of the earth, the ground in which that picture was taken, how it breathes through all of the seasons. So that that drone at the bottom of it, of the sound, was the earth breathing, and then the kind of the magical movement of the mist on the top of it. It was very atmospheric, and
It took me back a good 35 years not to Paris, but to North Wales, up in the Black Mountains, travelling out early in the morning and looking down on the valleys as we're travelling to the clouds and mists below. And the combination of the sound and the picture together really took me back, because as you say, you get that mist rising, that you could just sort of feel, as you said, Karen, Geraldine, it growing, it's sort of constantly on the move. And then the twinkle on top of the sunlight appearing. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to say on that one that I find I'm not a big music person like that, but that gave me real calm. I could just sink into it and enjoy the music coming out.
Oh, I'm glad. Thanks, Chris. So we moved to our photo collection. Now, today we did a small bit of editing because we haven't got as free-ranging time as we would have. A bit like your little church, Michael, you mentioned before. We from one of the photographs that we've collected already, there's just out of the sight of the photo a very tiny church with sort of very storm-proof walls for the protection of a very tiny group of people. And I feel a little bit like we are within the sort of very strong walls of that little shelter. So we need to make sure that we fit in our allotted time today. So I'm going to move to the photograph that we chose. Michael, do you want to, for everybody here in the hall, do you want to tell us a little bit about this photograph?
Oh, yes, it's in North Wales, Ross-on-Sea, and it's a beautiful little place, and I just took the photograph. The thing is, then there was a competition, I can't remember her name, but she was the photographer for the stars on ITV, and she was doing a thing with people with dementia. And I actually entered it, and I actually won first prize, and it was...
Oh my God.
But I must admit, it's a beautiful wee place. It's so relaxing.
I thought we would take this photograph and see where it takes us creatively, because it's got a number of the edges that we were thinking about. The edge of the sea and the shore, the edge of the sea and the sky. And I don't know if it's clear to you. I mean, this was, when we were looking at it, in the top left-hand corner, there's the smallest suggestion of rainbow, which I think if you're looking directly at it, seems to come and go at will. But it seems as it just out of the corner of your eye, if you just sneak up on it a bit, there's a suggestion of rainbow there. And that's on your leaflet. It might be easier to see it on there.
We had to choose an image ahead.
It is a suggestion. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
It's maybe an edge, a hint, if we stick with our theme. So we thought that maybe we would look at what we might do with this picture. Are there words that come to mind about this picture? Looking at it with the view of our theme, and that maybe we organise those together into something we can make that has all of us in it. All of us in it. If you think of some words that you'd like to contribute here. It's going to be spacious for a moment while we just take a moment to look, so nobody needs to panic. I like the way that the little boats look as if they're waiting to be lifted up. They're waiting for the water to come and lift them.
I'm reminded of many a time we spent in St Ives in Cornwall, and the walk along the promontory, that solidness of the walk there, and then coming down onto the shifting sand and having to move up and down as the tide ebbs and flows. So that the solidity and then the soft movement underfoot, as well as running away from the tide as it runs in and out.
Running away from the tide, did you say?
Yes, there are times when it catches you out. So from sitting on top of the promontory and walking, you're solid, you're safe, and then on the beach, you know where you are. But suddenly, if the tide comes in and you're caught unawares, there's the whole, almost the sort of shape-shifting, as a little bit like the music. It just sort of moves from one aura to another.
You probably can't see me, but I'm just jotting down a couple of those things that we've said there.
These three rocky promontories, or whatever they are, if you kind of look at those on the right-hand side, I'm talking now, below the cliffs and above the sand, you can see those three fingers. You kind of imagine that they're floating in the air. Then these three shadows are their shadows, as if they were floating in the air and being shadowed.
Shadows, as if they're floating in the air. I'm just jotting down a few things because we might want to construct our music from those ideas.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not flat on them. They're in the air, and the sun is that way.
I'm putting shadows floating in the air.
I think also, the rough edges that we can see, there's a soft enveloping of them as well. It's as though they're wrapping themselves around those little boats to keep the boats safe.
All right, wrapping around the boats. So far I've jotted down. We'll have to just remember them today because of the additional layers of tech. So we might write them down for you to see. But if we just take a couple to work with, shape-shifting, I've got. Waiting to be lifted. Below the sky, above the sea. Shadows floating in the air.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, you like that one because that was yours. I knew you would.
Yeah.
I know. Why don't we take that one? Below the sky, above the sea, shadows floating in the air. Maybe we could sort of just start off with a couple of musical ideas, and then perhaps we might want to sing some of those words. Can you give me a key that's useful? F. So I think we've got lots of people who are keen singers in our group. Below the
me
sky.
To take the share down, Caroline?
Yes,
Or do you want
let's
the
take
image?
that.
Yeah.
We've got a few ideas there now,
see
haven't
each
we? Now
other.
we can see each other's faces. So we've got below the sky, above the sea, shadows floating in the air, wrapping round the boats, shape-shifting. I'll say it properly, shape-shifting. Does anybody here want to suggest any words that we can add in?
I think it should be done in the form of a sea shanty.
It should be in the form of sea shanty. Uh-oh.
A sea shanty, yeah. With that squeeze box, it would be obviously perfect. For that scene, for that picture, for the boat, for the sea, everything you've just said.
What we could do, like a sea shanty.
Margot knows lots of sea shanties.
Oh.
Well, we can certainly.
She loves sea shanties.
Yeah, but I
don't want to sing one. Oh.
Steve, don't put Margot on the spot there. I'm running with part of that idea. Got your words here. And if we keep the sort of shape of a sea shanty, that means we've got a kind of chorus. We've got some words we could say, and then we can thread in. That's how sea shanties work, isn't it? That you sort of thread in a little line that comes back. So that's what maybe we need. Below the sky, above the sea, shadows floating in the air. Let's see what we could do with that.
Let's get the tune going.
Yes, that's what we need to start thinking about. Does anybody have a suggestion that they want to throw in straight away? Any of our singers? Give us a bed of the key, and then we can sort of see what comes. We'll try out some
I think
ideas,
that's
and
we
you can
need
suggest
to
to me
the
if you
tune,
like them. Below the sky, above the sea. That's a good gesture. So we'll move our arms up of that. Below the sky, above the sea. So that, if we use that as a little chorus, then we could freely add in some other words that you think of in between. It'll have a sort of wonderful shape-shifting. It's good you mentioned that, because one of the things that Zoom's really, really good at is a bit of shape-shifting. So we can't all do the same thing at the exact same time, but we can kind of follow each other along like the tide goes. So how about we sort of think of that? Let's just try that a few times and then see what arises. It might be that you want to try out your voices and sing in that with me if you'd like. Otherwise, you don't have to. That's totally fine if you don't want to. You can just pass judgment afterwards and see if it's any good or not. I leave that to you. All right, go on then, Inika. Below the sky, above the sea,
around and
above the sea, shape-shifting around and So, sorry, I was just going to cut in there to think. That sounds absolutely lovely. I really love the sound of it. It gives us a kind of wash where we can hear that we're singing and people's voices are coming in and out into the edge of it, which that to me is very pleasing. Can you hear us and yourselves when we're playing? Yes, some nods up. Okay, good. So if we keep that as a chorus, then if you wanted to join us in singing the chorus, please feel free to put that in if you'd like. Or not, as you wish. So our chorus will have below the sky, above the sea, shadows floating in the air, shape-shifting. And then we can have a little space where we could thread in some freestyle singing if you want to, or something on those threads, or words, or moves, exactly as you did. Let's see what happens. We'll see if we can turn this into a sort of our creative piece. That's beautiful, Mike. We love that. We'll think about weaving in some bee images in as well, shall we? Below the sky, above the sea, above the sea, shape-shifting. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. On and about. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. Shadows floating in the
Clouds moving with the breeze.
Moving with the breeze. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. Around and about.
The seas out, the boats will be.
The sails blow upon the breeze. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. Around and above. Below the sky, above the sea, shape-shifting. Round and above.
Clouds are moving with the breeze. The seas out, the boats are beached. I walk along the beach.
Below the sky, above the sea, above the sea,
clouds are in the breeze,
of the sea.
the boats are big, the sea's out. I take a walk along the pier.
Below the sky, above the sea, shape shifting.
Good. Relaxing.
Beautiful singing.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Star is Born.
Sorry, Steve.
John Samuel.
A very good ambience.
Margot was renowned for her singing voice, and her and her sister were in the church choir, but her career was cut short when the vicar said to her mum, "Don't bring them next week."
Oh, we hate to hear you say that sort of thing. But we love the fact that everybody's voices can be in it together.
I needed a bit more tempo for my sea shanty. I had something in mind, but I'll work on that one. I needed a little bit more upbeat. I needed a little bit more, and a bit more really rolling ship and all the way.
Steve was very big on his homework. I think that's a homework assignment that he's.
Yeah, okay.
Because we've
always one for homework.
I'm just going to tell the people in the hall how we've got to that homework that we're working on.
Can we ask how many people in the hall you are referring to?
There are
Hundreds?
about 30 people here.
Yeah, I don't know
Yes,
whether
we can see. We could do it with the.
So if I do a spotlight, this is showing what's on the wall there at the back.
Yeah, let's move it around. Why don't we? Can you see?
Okay, I'm gonna move to
There
this
we
one. We've
go.
got, here we go.
Hey.
Let me spotlight for everyone. Oh wow! Oh, that's great.
Excellent.
Yes, that's
Wow.
what we hoped. We'll be able to see your arms
Excellent.
so that you can join us. Hold on to your hats while we just spin round. Thanks, Aniko. That's a good idea. So yes, you can see that we are actually all here. I was just going to tell them that we had been talking about maybe as well as collecting photographs and visual images that we could. Now you can see it. We could collect audio as well, and that maybe some of the people in the group might be interested to play around with the audio and to mix that into things. So that is your homework. Remember, we are still at the beginning of our spring series, so there's plenty of time for homework to be gathered. So far, we've gathered lots of images, but we haven't gathered very many sounds yet. But we were talking about experimenting with rhythms of trains, movement of trains.
Oh my God, we're so far ahead of you. Okay, so when we headed off to the Jurassic Coast, I said to Margot, we're making an audio video, an audio story of our trip, where no words will be spoken, but sounds will be recorded. Everybody will. Could you stand a few seconds of it? It wasn't completed because it's much more difficult than I imagined. But can anybody stand a few seconds of it?
Yeah, if you've got your device there, it's amazing that you've been so quick.
You talk amongst yourselves, and I'll
begin the assignment. I just want to take a moment again about how wonderful that singing was from everyone. I was kind of blown away. I mean, I know we're wonderful and brilliant, but it was a beautiful moment. It felt very special to be a part of it and kind of creating it together. We were sort of entering the Zoom room before we linked up with you and just sort of saying how this is the most advanced technical wizardry that we've ever attempted.
Not without its hiccups.
And it's really lovely to be able to share it together. And also just to say that we've got David and Suzanne here with us for the very first time, who are Louise's parents. So Caroline wouldn't have had a chance to kind of say hello to you yet, because that was with me welcoming you. But just to say again that we're so delighted that you're part of this event alongside us. It's very special to have you here.
Yes,
we definitely want them back.
Louise,
Okay, so I've got this. Now, look, guys, what this is,
Hang
it's
on,
basically
Steve.
sounds.
One moment there, Steve. We're still with the busying of our talking amongst ourselves.
I beg your pardon.
One moment. Sorry, Caroline. Were you going to?
Yeah, no.
John was about to come in there.
Yes,
I
John.
was just saying that Louise's father plays the bagpipe, so maybe we should get him for an appearance.
Well, that could certainly give you some audio homework to be collecting. A bit of bagpipes.
The audio stuff is more difficult than I thought.
Well, Steve, don't worry about that for now, because remember, we have our recurring sessions this series. And we would absolutely love to have it.
Yeah, okay. Shall I give you a few seconds? Basically, you'll hear a sound which you'll recognise. It begins with the alarm waking us up in the morning, and then other sounds follow, which you'll...
So is this a game of guess the sound, Steve?
Like when you go on your phone is...
Could be.
Yeah.
Are you doing it now, Steve?
Yeah, can you hear it?
No.
No?
It's a sound of silence.
It sounded like, I wish my alarm sounded like that. We might have to just pause that for a moment. Let's see, we didn't expect you to have your homework done so soon. So we can have a look at that. If you want to find a way to send it to us.
Well, I'll stop it.
Yeah, stop it, because we can't hear it. I'm not sure why.
I can't hear it. I don't know why. It's certainly loud in here. But anyway, basically, yeah, a selection of sounds. It went quite well in the house. The alarm, and what do you do when you get up? Go and have a wee, flush the toilet, wash your hands, go downstairs, make a cup of tea, put some toast in the toaster. The toast pops. Every one of the sounds you'd have recognised, and then it's telling the story of the car door as you're heading off to the train door as you're getting. And when I was imagining it, I thought, oh, this is going to be great, but it's much more difficult. I found it much more difficult than I thought it would be, because there's all sorts of other sounds that intrude. The world's full of people and other things going on.
But maybe you can think of it the way that we think of this space as a kind of, we welcome the sort of overlapping that happens because we can't always control all of those things.
I'll send it all to Hermione and perhaps she can make something of it.
I think John Samuel was keen to get playing around with our audio mix, weren't you, John?
He can't hear.
Still playing around.
Good.
All right, okay. Yeah,
well, there's time for that. What there isn't very much time for left is any more of today's gathering. So we're going to need to just wrap ourselves up here now, like the little boats, wrapped around by the week before we see you again next Friday. And we will write to you as always, remind you of your homework, and talk to you about some of the things that maybe we're thinking that have popped up into our collection so far, because I saw there's some absolutely beautiful images. Maybe we can do a little sort of sneak preview, Hermione, just before we finish, of that gorgeous photograph that you sent, Louise, of the frozen geometric patterns, which is completely amazing. I don't know if people here can see that very well. Yeah, that's
cool, very cool.
Had to do a double take to look at what that actually was. It's incredibly beautiful photographs you've put in.
But another thing, I just want to have out something with everybody. My bag,
Cat.
And she had to go to heaven now.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Louise, about that. That's sad.
Was it the one that got the bird?
Yes, yeah.
Oh. Yeah. R.I.P.
Thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
Speaking of...
Beautiful picture, Louise.
I've got to... Yeah, but the last day.
A few days ago, that picture. Yeah.
But then with another one, that one, the funny one, because she was leaning down like
You remember?
Oh yeah, I didn't load that one up. I'll do that next time.
Yeah.
There's a few more, is there? There's more photographs. Your eye is so beautiful. I mean, when you take photographs, they're amazing. So we've just sort of picked out a couple, and the fact that this one crossed over with something that Geraldine sent about the new knitting patterns with these beautiful geometric shapes and the edges between them. So I'm just going to hint to those ones because I know we need to wrap up our session now and close as we usually do, but we'll think of it as a sort of pause on our explorations. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks for being brave enough to give it a try with us here, and thank you very much to all of you for joining us. We close, as we always do, with our framing music, which I hope you'll hear a little more of. It's a little bit outflowing of the time, so you can leave as and when you're ready. And
are you back there next week, or is you back to normal?
Back to normal next week.
Okay.
I can only manage one of these in a lifetime.
Thank you to the auditorium for being part of our group today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be able to see them. Can you hear them?
Thank you so much to Caroline and the Out of the Ordinary team.
Thank you for joining us.
Amazing. That was really, special to be able to get a glimpse of what happens online. So we are having a lunch break now until 1 o'clock. So please do enjoy a break. And we will be asking you to leave the auditorium because we have a rehearsal on stage now. Just a reminder that you're welcome to bring any food from the outside into the restaurant if you would like to eat in that space. And at 1 o'clock we have in here our panel discussion, downstairs our Monday afternoons workshop, and upstairs another workshop with some of our Care Home Project team. So have a nice break and we'll see you soon. Hello everyone and welcome back. My name's Lydia, if you haven't met me already. I'm the Programme Manager for Music for Life, and it's really good to have you with us today. And we have something very exciting coming up, some amazing people from the Music for Life programme here to share about their experience. And we have Hannah with us. So this is Dr. Hannah Zelig. And Hannah is a reader in Arts and Health at the University of the Arts London. She's a visiting research fellow at the University of East Anglia and co-founder of Unmapped, also working alongside Julian, and with whom Music for Life work very closely. Hannah has worked with people living with dementia in the community and in care homes for several decades. She's also explored and written about the role and the value of arts for people living with dementia and the cultural representations of dementia. Hannah's work is characterized by combining theoretical rigor with real-world knowledge of working with people with dementia, and she's been identified by The Wellcome as one of the pioneers in dementia due to her work in this area. So I'm going to hand over to Hannah, who's going to facilitate our discussion, and I'm going to pass this mic to you to use when you're ready.
Thank you, and lovely to be here and to be part of Music for Life, which just has always felt like a privilege. So we've got a discussion this afternoon, and what you see before you is an arc of people and an arc representing some of the movement of Music for Life from someone who's been involved, this is Jill, for a long, long time, for I think the whole 3 decades. And then to at the end there, Saki, who's just recently joined. So I'm going to hand over to each of them to talk about their experience with Music for Life, what makes it distinctive, and what makes it special, and why the work has ongoing importance. So over to you, Jill.
Hi, so I'm Jill Yentis, and I worked with Jewish Care for 27 years, and out of those 27 years, 22 of them I specialised as the dementia care trainer for the organisation. And as Music for Life developed, so did my role. We moved from projects for residents to projects for residents and staff together. And my role became more apparent because I was there to support the staff and for their staff development. There was always a member of our dementia team on every project, and this was to enhance the knowledge and the training and the development of the staff. And so that became embedded in our work. I've worked with Music for Life through the good times and the more challenging times. Through the pandemic, where we had projects on Zoom, where the musicians were on Zoom, I was there in person in the home with some care staff. And now we're in the post-COVID era, which brings its challenges as well. There have been many breakthrough moments over the years, and I've just got a couple to share with you. And any of the musicians here in the room might even be able to recognise who I'm talking about. So there was one project where we had a gentleman who had no verbal communication. And as the music in the circle, the beat began to pick up, we noticed he was tapping his fingers, and he seemed to be tapping them in a rhythmic way. He was observed by the musicians and by the staff, and we noticed there was something significant going on for him. And after the session, we spoke to the manager and the care manager of the home, and they said they would go and look into his past and find out more about him. They came back the next week. It transpired that he had been on a submarine during World War II where he was doing Morse code. And throughout the sessions, what he was doing was tapping out those movements of Morse code. This unleashed a whole world for us to learn more about him, and the staff themselves then spoke to the family. The family discovered that a book had been written about him, and this then led on to them building a much closer relationship with this man who all they saw was a man who just didn't talk. And another short example was a lady who had been resistant to take part in the project and was given instruments. And sometimes she didn't play them, but she just held them, and she had a very strong grasp. The staff were amazed to see her actually engaged in a circle, and after the session, I decided to delve a bit further. I looked at her care plan, and I noticed that in her care plan, it was somebody who was on a soft food diet and was having food spoon-fed into her mouth. I then questioned if she could hold an instrument with a very tight grip, why is she being spoon-fed? So we then learnt that through a Music for Life session, you can actually change the daily living of a person. And she was then starting to be given finger food. She couldn't hold cutlery, but she could certainly hold food and finger food. And then she had her own independence. She could eat her meal without it being spoon-fed. So those were staff developments. And then the last bit I wanted to say was that over the years, I've made a lot of notes. Not as much as Linda has written, but I certainly tried to make a lot of notes. And I've just got four lovely quotes from some staff on some recent projects. 1 hour in this group made me feel calm, which helped me get through the rest of the day. It was like my therapy. This is another one. We were part of the band, us and the residents. We were in this together. Another one said, I didn't want it to end. I feel so privileged to have been in this group. And finally, this was a recent one, a few weeks ago. It took me back to my days as a child. The drum made me think of home. I haven't played a drum since I was at school. I wonder where it takes the residents.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jill. And now I wonder, Linda, if you would like to share some of your thoughts about Music for Life projects.
Yes. My name is Erlinda. I joined the Singing for Friends 6 years ago here in Wigmore Hall. I was diagnosed as an early dementia, and from that moment, I feel sad, and I'm so worried about it. Then one day, my doctor sent me here as a referral, and I realized how good is the music. It makes me feel alive. It helps me to heal my heart, my emotion, also the mental illness, being so lonely. Then by singing and hearing music, I start to make myself happy. So I started to come here and join the choir and feel more livelier now. And I hope that my colleagues that are suffering from dementia, they should learn how to help themselves, that instead of sitting down doing nothing, they can help themselves to move on, doing a lot of things, not only singing, gardening, going out, meeting people. I think it's very interesting, all these things. It helps you to advance in everything you do and make you more alive.
Thank you. Thank you. Bing, would you like to share some words?
My name is Bing. I came from the Philippines. That's why I told you I'm from Philippines, because I look like Japanese. That's one reason. So the first time that I joined the Age UK in Chelsea Theatre, then my friend said to me, can I join you there? I said, yes, come. And then she had noticed that Resonate have a music too, so we come here. So we joined together here. It's been a long time now. And we're unhappy and enjoy ourselves now that when we meet each other in one room, we hug each other and loving each other. Big fun to be here, a really big fun to be here. And our teacher is so good, very understanding, very good. The most important thing is we learn how to behave ourselves now. Before it's rascal, blah, 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 blah. Now, we need to be quiet. What we can do is just have a good life. Singing is really brilliant in the brain, action, and also your life being alive. And that is one thing I'm really happy to join this singing. But I would like to be in the contest, but I cannot be afford because I'm 83 years old now. No one will be accepted. No. I said to myself, just keep quiet, doing only what you can do to this resonate. It's very powerful, it's very good. But you can hear it later anyway. I don't know if that will be good for you. You cannot please everyone anyway. So I'm very, very happy to be into this resonate singing because I can blow my top. And that is why I'm really, really happy to join the resonate singing. But if I'm only younger, maybe I will be in the part of click. I'm old already. I belong to the Age UK, but I am aged. I'm 83, but still kicking.
Thank you so much, Bing. And I wonder if you could pass the microphone to Julian.
It's yours now.
And if you could share. It's good that you're 83 and still kicking.
Yeah. It certainly is. I hope I am too. So I'm Julian. I'm Julian West. I'm one of the musicians here that works on the project on Music for Life. So when I was asked to think about what it is that's important about the project, or that is unique about the project, I think for me it comes down to the fact that the project is based on the fundamental principle of being fully inclusive of people living with dementia, and that includes people at any stage, which is not something that all programs that work with people with dementia do. So there's no assumptions made about who will or won't be able to participate or how they will participate. We don't make that call, we don't make that judgment. We work with whoever is there in the room, and we work with the whole of those of the person. But I think what I've learned through working from that assumption is that the creativity and the communication and the connection that many of you will have seen that happens in sessions, you will have seen it probably in sessions today as well, it's dependent upon the extent to which I and other musicians who are working on the project are willing to authentically be in the project. So it depends upon that authenticity of the relationship that we are prepared to enter into with people. So if I'm really fully listening and really fully open and able to share myself authentically, then that's when trust can begin. And that's when people can begin to take risk. And it's when those risks, even very small risks, begin to happen that we can find each other. And that's when we reach out, and that's when we connect with each other, and that's when that human, authentic connection happens. And that's a challenge for us as musicians as well. So me as a conservatoire-trained classical musician, my training was all about trying to eliminate risk. So you practice and practice until you don't make any more mistakes, and you can go on stage and you will be perfect. But to be authentic in this project, at least, and in other areas of work, requires risking, taking risk, and being brave enough to create that environment where risk-taking feels possible or even exciting as well. And as musicians, we're working mostly, as you've seen, not through talking. We're doing it through using our musical skills and our knowledge and our craft as professional musicians. And so in every session, every time I'm working, I feel like I'm trying to lift that knowledge up away from the safety of the printed music or from the safety of the performance space, and use it instead to connect with people and to create with them. And in that way, something is created which is reciprocal and which is regenerative, and everybody who is involved is learning and growing together. So I think far from being a project, or as it is now, a whole suite of projects that are for people with dementia or that are an intervention into the lives of people with dementia, it's instead something that is completely of mutual benefit, where everyone who's involved is growing and learning together. And it's something that I think that's the thing that for me is so important and is so distinctive, is that it elevates everyone who is involved in it. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Jill and Dave, I wonder if you would like to share your thoughts.
Come as a couple.
Yeah, I gathered. Thank you.
Yes, when I was asked to talk about our thing, I think you could say Dave and I are lovers. We're mature adults. We've been together for a long, long time, well over 20 years. And we have such balance in energy, and we're synergistic, really, aren't we? Yes. So we came to Music for Life because our diagnosis was a rude interruption to life.
Yeah. Yes.
And
sorry, part of my problem is I lose my voice. Sometimes I have to take 2 breaths before we speak. I think that was all I was going to say at that point, because I was about to speak and I lost it. I've forgotten your name. Julian. Julian said something about taking risks, and that isn't what I was going to talk about. It was about everybody having their own role within the things. And it's very strong here when the people come out and do a local group. They bring all kinds of skills and all kinds of knowledge, both amongst the kind of those with the diagnosis and those without. And I find it very enjoyable to work. I was never a musician before. I would have said jokingly I could play a dance it. You have to be quite old to remember that. But this is engaged with music, and I found instruments I can play or make a tone out of. I've taken a liking to the French oboe for some particular reason. French. I said French.
Horn.
French horn. What did I say? Oboe, sorry. That's really all I have to say. I think we've shared a lot together. We've joined together in working with each other and working with the other people and come on the projects?
Yeah, I'd say we came into Music for Life just in lockdown. Dave got his diagnosis within weeks of lockdown. And so being able to join Zoom programs and to have Caroline and her flute, which was not Dave's favourite instrument, was it?
We love each other, really.
It was such an anchor point for us. It was something, you know, we had hardly got used to the idea that this was serious and this was lifelong and this was going to carry on changing. And nobody to share it with, not even my own children were coming round because they didn't want to infect us with dreaded COVID. So we were pretty isolated, and Music for Life played a huge part in keeping us sane during that period. And then the first face-to-face meetings at our Hillside Church have just been magic. And to see the change in Dave, who admits he's not very musical, he's got no rhythm, he's got no tone, he's got no appreciation of any of it. To see him engaging at quite a good level and encouraging other people who are further on in their disease, he goes around and he chivvies people up and he really enjoys it. And I have a chance to sit back and just enjoy watching. And I see so often that connection that's been mentioned several times, where people are either totally mute or not saying very much, not expressing very much, starting to tap or starting to mimic or starting to engage, and it's just pure magic. I just love it. And for me, I go home and I become quite contemplative about the photos that we look at, about the tone poems that we write, about the music that they make, and I've taken to writing my poetry myself, which I tend to do after Dave goes to bed. I have my free time from 10 o'clock till midnight. And there you go.
Then she comes to bed and turns the radio off.
That's us.
This is the third audience I've made a speech to about my disease. So I'm becoming somewhat expert in it. I had a professional life where I never presented to an audience at all. I mean, you know, small groups in team meetings or something. But I've done you lot, sorry, paramedics and somebody else.
We went to UCL to talk the expert patients about something.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, and Radio 4. It's coming out in April. There's a 1-week 5-series after the lunch about...
after the 1 o'clock news on...
Yes, after the news, yeah. That's coming up in April.
So you can learn all about us there.
I think we should be honoured that we're the third audience that you've spoken to. And I hope we'll have a chance to chat a bit later, but it'd be good to hear from Saki.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Saki and I'm a guitarist. I'm just gonna say, I did see Dave playing piano just before we came out, which was really wonderful. And you know, it's really nice to hear these stories that all these people are telling. And I came into working with Wigmore Hall Learning about 3 years ago. And it was during lockdown, and we all remember how hard it was. Like, it was hard for us musicians, and it was also hard for anyone who's just here in general. And I think, so it was that's when I started to work with music workshops, and it was really special for me because I was doing a fellowship in collaboration with Royal Academy Music and Wigmore Hall Learning, and I have to thank Julian here because he's the head of Open Academy at the Academy, and if it wasn't for him, I actually didn't discover this great work that we have here, which has been going for 30 years, which is very exciting, and I hope to be celebrating in another 30 years as well. Yeah, I remember I started working online with great experts of Music for Life team, and I remember one of the participants said, people like me, he didn't know that people like me, him, could inspire people like us, the musicians, which I think it's really nice. It's in the session, we always have it in circle. I know it was hard online, but it's just like a lovely circle of people. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's just there to share the moment, which is really nice. I was just thinking while they were talking about their experiences, one thing I found that really special during the session is non-verbal communication, musical communication that we have. I don't know, that's because I am originally from Japan. I didn't speak English very well about 10 years ago. And sometimes the music was the way to communicate with people for me when I couldn't speak English. And I think that might have some sort of connection that I found it really special, that we are there, safe space, everyone's welcome, and everyone's just enjoying or some sort of emotional states in the circle, which is really special, that what we have here. Yeah, we'll have more talk. We can talk forever, but back to you, Hannah.
Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone. And I thought before we opened up to the floor for questions, whether we would have a conversation amongst ourselves, perhaps. And first of all, whether you have got any questions for each other. Maybe. But also, I offer an invitation. So I know from having spoken to Jill and to Dave that she writes poetry, which I think was partly inspired by your involvement with music. Completely inspired. And I invite you to share one of your poems, if you'd like to. And I also know, Saki, that you said that you felt more nervous talking than you would ever feel playing the guitar.
Yeah, it's quite funny, isn't it? I feel much more confident about playing here than talking, but maybe I could respond musically.
So, I chose some of the things I write are necessary.
Speak into one.
Sorry?
Use the mic.
Sorry. Right, okay. Just organising the bits. So one of the pictures that we put into the Music for Life session was a picture I had taken of a moon rising in Africa. So the sky was still light sky blue, and there's this beautiful pearl of a moon, but it looked in the photograph as if it was suspended from a tree, a leafless old tree, a dead tree, a snag of a tree, with this beautiful pearl-like moon. And we spoke about that in the group, and we made a tone poem about it. We made lovely music about it. But then I was thinking about that. I was ingesting it and processing it. And I sat down and quite surprised myself because I wrote it with hardly drawing breath. I was quite surprised when I got to the end. So I've called it, and I think we were talking about lightness and darkness, or light and heavy, something like that. But anyway, I called it The Lightness of Moon. The moon on a dark sky at night, laden with shadow melting, glimmering light, lifting the lightness across the sky, casting insight into the darkest why. Lighten the load, lifting light in the dark, shining, shifting, glowing, flowing, filling the fantasies, dreams while you sleep. Softly the moonbeams stroke gentle the cheek. And the light seems to lighten the heaviest of load, lightening the tread, the pathway less steep, as moon silently, softly slips over the sky. And just for a moment, suspended in time, there is peace in the air, suspended in time, to feel light as the moon, just resting there. Peace, perfect peace, feeling filled with light. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wonder if any of you have questions for each other. Not especially. Not especially. I was just going to sum up a little bit. So I was excited to hear about the moments that you've identified, Jill, and the thought that the Music for Life, which is music, can also lead to these incredible new insights for staff and for people in the project. And that's been very much also my experience from being in groups, which is this ability to see people differently and also then to see yourself a bit differently within a project. So I found that really, really resonant. What I loved hearing from both Bing and Erlinda was the sheer joy of sessions. And again, that's also something that I've experienced, and I hope any of you that have been to sessions or been in sessions find like it's a fundamental part, is joy and fun. And we can lose that so easily. We can forget the importance of having fun and of playing. For me, Julian talked about authenticity. It's a really difficult thing for all of us, I think, but it's also so essential. And you know that when you've hit something authentic, you can start creating together, and you can start making something with people. And that also links with risk, and that's something that both Julian and I are really interested in, which is being vulnerable enough to take risk in groups and through music. I've had such a lovely afternoon with Jill and Dave, talking about so many things. But I have to say one of the most moving things was when we spoke earlier in the week. And I asked everyone how they would like to be introduced and how they would introduce themselves. And I said to Jill, you know, companions or... And she said, well, we're lovers, which is what she said again today. And the power of that, I think, is massive. And then, of course, Saki, who's relatively new, not that new, Music for Life, and your energy and what you said just as we were coming in, which is I would like us to be here in another 30 years, celebrating, which I think is amazing. So on that note, I would like to ask any of you for questions or reflections you might like to share. Please feel free. We've got around 20 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask, especially to Julian and Jill, if you would be happy to share some thoughts and experiences of how Music for Life has changed over the years that you have been part of. Thank you.
So how has it changed? I suppose the biggest change has been in the kind of range of projects that there is now. So from that beginning of, as I sort of mentioned, of working just in care settings, to expanding that to working in community settings, and then the choir, and online. You know, it seems as though every time there's a new platform available to work on, then Music for Life adapts and grows through that. One of the things that I feel has changed, I'd be really interested actually, Jill, to know what you think about this, is that I feel that there's a change in the musicians, and I see, you know, young musicians coming into the programme now in a really different place from where most of us maybe were when we started. We were all really terrified to improvise, and, you know, and well, some of us were. I was. See, and I would be really interested, Jill, to know what you. That was actually going to be my question I had for you. Is do you see a change in the musicians over the 30 years?
The answer is 100% yes. I've seen so many changes in the way that musicians have adapted in the way that we've worked. I think I learnt a lot in the very early days that I had to be quite prescriptive, and that went against me as an informal educator to see that the musicians were very prescriptive, and Music for Life was very prescriptive. 8 residents, 3 members of staff in the circle, 2 on the outside observing, making notes, and a start piece and a piece for a resident and a finishing bit. There was a whole package that went with it, and I often felt that I really wasn't sure that I aligned myself with the musicians, because I saw myself as an educator, because the musicians came from a very different world. And I think what I've seen over the years is that we've sort of moved into a central space where I think musicians have gained confidence to be a little bit out of their comfort zone, and to have that spontaneity and flexibility, and to feel that this is what we planned today, or we had in our head that this is what we might be doing, but actually the session didn't allow for that, and you had to think completely outside of the box. And part of it was I like seeing you sweating and finding this really uncomfortable, especially Julian, and we've worked on many projects together, and I know that that's been uncomfortable at times, but I think it's actually been a huge development for musicians to be able to develop like that, and it's also helped me to understand a little bit more of the ethos as to why it had to be so prescriptive in the beginning, to allow for it to change over the years. And then since the pandemic, it's opened up a whole different way of working. And we don't even have the luxury of being so sort of rigid in a way. We take whatever residents we can get. Whether we get some staff, that's an added bonus. If some weeks we have no staff, whatever, we'll manage. We may not have a quiet space. We can't always guarantee that we're going to have that room where we're not going to be disturbed for a whole hour. And there may be people coming and going. And so it's changed a lot. So I think in that respect, that's been the huge changes that we've had to adapt.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, my question. Hi, Julian. Hi, Caroline. My question is really, what do we think what do the staff think the impact is of the project on them, not just personally, but professionally, i.e. in how they do their work, not just around the project itself, but after the end of the project?
So was that question directed at anyone in particular, or whoever wants to answer? Whoever wants to answer. What's the impact of the project on the artists? Not on the staff. On the staff. Not just during the project, but maybe also afterwards.
I don't want to hog it, but that's one of the things that I think has had the most significance. I think very, very early on, we've seen some people having made huge changes in the way that they work. One, I remember her almost ready to leave Jewish Care. She was very despondent, didn't feel that there was any role for her anymore. She was really, she was not feeling very happy there. She was involved in the 8-week programme, and as the weeks went on, she started learning an awful lot about herself and about her interaction with the residents and her development. And almost 30 years on, she's still there, and she herself has been instrumental in seeing that there's more to care work than just you know, assisting somebody with personal care, but actually through Music for Life, and it's really down to Music for Life, that shaped the future for how she's still, in 2023, still there. And we see it all the time. We see it where staff being given that opportunity to spend an hour of their time playing a drum, playing a tambourine, sitting next to Patrizia with the harp, and being able to pick up the mini harp and accompanying Patrizia. I mean, they've never had an opportunity to do something like that. And it unleashes something in them that makes them think there's more to me than just a care worker. And we've seen it so many times. And people have gone on to develop their skills within their work. And it's not to do with care, it's to do with their own life skills and personal skills. So it's been huge.
Beautiful. Thank you. Has anybody else got any reflections? Yeah, Jo.
I'm always fascinated to see how the musicians, and they come varied. Some weeks there's just 2 or 3, and some weeks there's maybe 5. We've also got some of the carers who are bringing their own instruments. We've got a Cayley fiddle player who is moving towards a more classical form. I just love that, but what I love is the way the musicians, who may be a little bit, shall I say, a bit scared of people with dementia. I feel sometimes that they've not been exposed very much. Maybe they're on I think that they're on a training course of some sort. I don't know that, but I think that I see them relaxing and enjoying us, and coming here today and seeing some of the people that we haven't seen for months, but that recognize us, and the warmth with which they greet us. There is a connection there all over again. We're transported back to where we first met, and Dave knows them too, you know, there's so-and-so, and I say he likes the French horn, and he's growing to like the clarinet. But yeah.
I was just going to add, I mean, really just to, I think just build on what you were saying, Jill, about the way that the project, you know, doesn't just enable us to, you know, appreciate people with dementia in their fullness and in the full extent of who they are as human beings, but it also gives that space to the staff as well, you know, as well as it giving them opportunities to learn and do things. It gives everybody a chance to see who staff are in the fullness of their being. They're not just the people that do the jobs, you know, of lifting and feeding and washing. They're full human beings, and the project gives that opportunity for everyone to appreciate that about them as well.
Are there any more questions? Yes.
I would like to follow up on this, what it means for the staff after the question of David. Jill, you gave a response and you said it increases in particular the skills, the life skills, the personal skills. It has less to do with care. But I could also imagine, and in some of my research I found that too, that through music as a catalyst, increasing your personal and life skills can lead to another kind of compassionate care, that you can see people with other eyes.
I mean, totally agree. And I think that the relationships change when you have an 8-week project where the staff are in the same room. As I said in one of the quotes, we're in this together. You know, the staff felt that we're a band together, and they learnt a different way of working, from going into somebody's bedroom to getting the person up and ready and dressed in the morning, that they've learnt a different way of communication. And that's come from having that opportunity of playing music together, that it opens up the care staff's eyes to who this person is, and it helps the resident build a relationship with that member of staff who's been caring for them for the last weeks, months and years, that they see that member of staff in a different way as well. And they have a laugh together. I'll never forget just being in one of the homes and walking down the corridor, and I heard a member of staff going into a lady's room, and she was going, "Good morning, Elsie. Good morning, Elsie. How are you today?" I was thinking, my goodness, that was the tune from about 6 months ago, that there was the welcoming tune in Music for Life. And you could tell that the lady in bed, her eyes opened, and she opened her eyes and smiled, which, you know, is a different relationship, so completely.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? I think we have time for a couple more.
I've got two, but I hope I don't want to hog. There's another person over there. Which one should I choose? I wondered about, there's been some talk about like speaking in public and sharing and performing, and I just wondered how you make the decisions to maybe share or perform as a group and in all the different, across the different projects, and whether, and what learning you've got around that over the last 30 years.
So I wonder who would like to have a first go at that, how you make the decision to kind of perform or share as a group. You don't make a decision. I'm going to give it.
Most strands of the project, so obviously the work in care settings, and I think also Music for Thought, and the Monday afternoon work, Caroline, you're here as well, doesn't involve performance. Is that right? Yeah. So you make some recordings, and sometimes those are shared, but it's about the music making process for the people who are involved themselves. The group who do perform are singing with friends. So I don't know whether either Elinda or Bing, you want to say anything about performing with the choir, and yeah.
Yes, I mean, performing with the singing for friends is very interesting. I mean, we rehearse, our colleagues are happy to learn more our songs, and how do you call this one? We sing, and also, sorry about this, being a dementia sometimes become forgetfulness.
Not only you have dementia. So sometimes it is there already in our tongue that's out in our
it couldn't come out, the voice, it couldn't come out.
It is
but
very difficult.
It is in our mind.
I wish I will not be dementia.
Yeah.
I will be staying in good condition.
I wish I'm always 25. But I was 74. But then honestly, singing is a joy in our heart and our mind. And also, if you are a dementia and you hear something, your favorite from the past, you remember everything. Sometimes if I walk on the room and I say, why did I come here? I forgot. And then the music come, I hear the song or the music. I know what I want. Because I remember. So music is singing, songs, music is very powerful for the sick people, not only for dementia, for everything. The heart, the mind, the eyes, the way you can walk. I see a lot of people with a stick, with dementia. When they hear the music, they throw the stick and they start dancing.
That's true.
It is, because we attend a lot of dancing from the Age UK. So I see a lot of people with the stick, men and women.
And they forget the stick.
And they forget the stick.
They throw it away.
Unbelievable, the power of music.
And then they keep dancing.
Yes. Unbelievable. So I hope everybody here in this room, in the future, if you get the dementia, you know what to do.
Yeah.
But dancing is the best.
Yeah, you can shake your body and your brain.
So one final question, please, I think.
You were talking about how the staff who listen to the music that you perform and singing and everything else, how it changes them. What happens when they go back to the staff room and they're talking to people who don't take part? Does it affect those people as well?
So interesting, and I don't know if there's any knowledge on this, given that probably we're not, or everybody's not in the staff room, but I wonder whether you know whether when the staff have had the experience of a Music for Life project, how that then affects them in the staff room with the other staff that weren't part of that project. I don't know if you've got, I'm turning to you, Jill, but...
There's an element of envy, because they've been very privileged to have been given the opportunity to be part of a Music for Life project. And because it takes a long time for the project to get back to that home again, because it's going around our organisation, it's expensive, people can't just have Music for Life when they feel like it, that it is actually a little bit exclusive. And so it's not great for some members of staff because they say, well, why wasn't I involved? But I think one of the benefits of COVID and, dare I say it, recruitment of care staff into social care, which is very challenging, because we're having to learn to work in a much more flexible way. The last few projects have been actually much more inclusive for staff, because we haven't been able to be as sort of selective to say only 4 members of staff on this project, that's it. We've basically taken, Julian, would you agree with this? Whoever's around. please come in and join us. And actually, we've done it in an open lounge rather than in a private space. And because it's been in an open lounge, it's whatever members of staff are on shift that afternoon, join in. And so in a way, through COVID and so on, we've actually benefited a little bit from that, but we've lost the exclusivity and the intense piece of work that often goes on.
Microphones from all directions. Just to add a little something from that, Jill, and I think in many ways, I mean, this has happened on one particular project that I was lucky enough to be part of, and I think what's been really interesting is that with the staff coming and joining the project in a much more spontaneous way, it feels that their participation has been much more equal, and that they bring themselves as they arrive, as they come into the room, rather than going through training and being prepared for coming. They come in as they are, who they are. If they choose to play an instrument, they play it as who they are there and then in that moment. And I think that there's real potential there as a way of enriching the project. The staff are coming as themselves. And the music is more interesting, actually.
The music is very good.
So I think that ends on a really, really important note, which is that from what we've observed, of course, COVID and lockdown restrictions were extremely difficult for musicians and for Music for Life, but there was also a kind of some new insights that were gained, some ideas about working differently, and about how to include care staff in different ways. From the observation I made on one project, the musicians were really reliant on the care staff in quite new ways, which was also really interesting in terms of changing dynamics. So it wasn't all bad, I guess, and there was a lot that was learned. But I think we should close the discussion now. Thank you for all your questions, and thank you above all to the panel members. Thank you very, very much.
I'm really excited to introduce you to our Singing with Friends choir, who are going to be performing for us today. And so Singing with Friends, we lead in partnership with Resonate Arts, and we have some special guest musicians who join us from the Royal Academy of Music. And today on stage we have Izzy leading our choir, we have Joe on the piano, Rebecca, who's one of our trainee vocal leaders, is with us. We have Josie here on the cello, Rehab is hiding in there, our trainee music leader, Shelley from Resonate Arts, Celia, our Music for Life producer, and our amazing choir members. I feel like I should name you all, but it will take a long time. So the Singing with Friends choir were inspired by the lyrics of one of their warm-up songs called Now I Walk in Beauty to put together a program which is inspired by the beauty we encounter in nature. So we're going to hear songs and poetry reflecting on the beauty of the sea, the moon, autumn leaves, and flowing river. And this performance features both our in-person and our online choir. I hope you enjoy it.
Arlan môr mae rosys cochion, Arlan môr mae lilies gwanion, Arlan môr mae arian unai, yn cysgu'r nos a chodi'r bore. Mor hardd yw'r hael yn codi'n bore, mor hardau yw'r enfys am laeliwye, mor hardd yw natur yn mehefin, ond harddach fydd yw wyneb melyn.
Take your time.
Have you seen ever anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun every evening, relaxed and easy, floats forward to the horizon and into the clouds on the hills or the rumpled sea, and is gone.
has a face.
The Moon by Robert Louis Stevenson.
That's right.
The moon has a face like the clock in the hall. She shines on thieves on the garden wall, on streets and fields and harbour quays, and birds asleep in the forks of trees. The squalling cat, the squeaking mouse, the howling dog by the door of the house, the bat that lies in bed at noon, all love to be out by the light of the moon. But all of these things that belong to the day cuddle to sleep to be out of the way, and flowers and children close their eyes till up in the morning the sun shall arise.
Fall, leaves fall, die flowers away, lengthen night and shorten day. Every leaf speaks bliss to me, fluttering from the autumn tree. I shall smile when wreaths of snow blossom where the rose should grow. I shall sing when night's decay ushers in a drearier day.
Ye banks and braes, O bonny doon, how can ye chant sae fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little bird, that I sae weary full of care? That breaks my heart, that warbling bird, that warbles through the flowery corn. And ilka bird sang o' its love, remind me ne'er to return.
house.
We are singing with friends. We hope you enjoyed the performance.
We meet every week downstairs and every fortnight online. Please join us in singing now. Walk in Beauty.
Thank you, Rosalind, for that invitation to sing together. So we'd like to end as we've begun with... We'd like to end as we've begun with the song Now I Walk in Beauty. So I'm going to tell you how it goes. And we've got a few gestures to do as we sing this. So our first line is Now I Walk in Beauty. And can we show what that looks like? So the feeling is that we're holding something really precious, really beautiful, whatever that might be. We've thought long and hard about what it might be. For some of us, it's a beautiful crystal, or maybe it's a fragile egg. For some people, it's a chocolate or a pint of beer. It changes week on week. Now I walk in beauty. We hold that thing. Beauty lies before me. Beauty lies behind me, above me, and below me. Great, so you've got the words and the gestures. Next up come the notes, and they go like this. Now I walk in beauty, beauty lies before me. Let's press pause there and see if we can do that much. Here's our first note, here we go. Now I walk in beauty, beauty lies before me. Great, and then it's time for the high note. Beauty lies behind me, above me, and below me. I think you've got it. Should we do one more run through and then we'll put it together with the Singing with Friends choir? Here we go. Now I walk in beauty, beauty lies before me, beauty lies behind me, above me, and below me. Fantastic, and we're going to sing it all together and also in a canon. So if you feel like singing, entering at a different time to the person next to you, you're very welcome. We'll make some more exciting harmonies that way.
was about to say hello from here.
I'm Celia, producer for Music for Life, and I know that Lydia is about to thank an awful lot of people and tell you what's going to happen next, but I just wanted to jump in and say an enormous thank you to Lydia from many, many people. Many of you are here today, many of you are watching online, for your vision of what today would become for this really special celebration, and for the care and thoughtfulness that you bring to the programme and have brought for the last 3.5 years. That deserves a round of applause. The care that you bring to everything and the meticulous leadership is really incredible. So thank you from all of us.
Thank you so much, Celia. And yeah, what an amazing performance, Singing with Friends. You are incredible. Thank you so much. I have got quite a few people to thank, so if you'd like to take a seat and stay on stage. So we have reached the end of the day, and I'm going to try and thank a lot of people now. I'm sorry, I probably will miss some people, but on behalf of me and the team, Daisy and everyone here at Wigmore, here are some words of thanks. So to begin with, we want to extend huge thanks again to Linda Rose, who founded Music for Life, and is the reason we're here. Linda, thank you so much for everything. Yeah, Linda continues to support us and to mentor us and our team, and to help guide us in the Music for Life programme. We're so thankful to her for all her wisdom and care and generosity. Thank you, Linda. And so to begin, next we have some thanks for everyone who's been involved in planning today. So that includes Celia, our Music for Life producer, who has been with us for almost a year now and has been doing an incredible job, especially helping with this event. Thank you. And also to Kiara and Isaiah, our trainee learning assistants. They've been helping out a lot today. To Daisy, our learning director, and to everyone else in the learning team, to Beth, Joyce, Rehab, thank you so much. To our other colleagues here at Wigmore, we have behind the scenes our production team, Darius, Tom and Rodrigo. We have Sokol, Will, the house managers and our front of house team. Thank you for all that you've done. And of course, to our director, John Gilhooly, for his support and leadership. To our trustees and to all those in the wider Wigmore Hall team. If you're a musician or facilitator who is involved or has been involved, we'd also like to thank you. Your care and creativity, your openness and courage is really the reason why Music for Life continues to flourish. So huge thanks to you who are involved today, but also across all the years for all your hard work. And special thanks to some of the musicians in the working group who have helped to organise today as well. So appreciated. So, as I mentioned earlier, we work in partnership with a range of organisations who make this work possible. So thanks go to Resonate Arts and the team who partner with us on a lot of our projects. And Shelley is here with Singing with Friends. Thank you. To the Royal Academy of Music Open Academy team with Julian and all his colleagues. It's incredible to work with you all. To Jewish Care and everyone who's part of that organisation. I know we have quite a few people here from past and present involvement, so thank you so much. And we also would like to thank our partners at Rare Dementia Support, to Unmapped, to Music Circles in Switzerland, who we're working with at the moment, and to the many other organisations that have helped to shape the programme over the years. We'd also like to thank past staff and trustees, and I spotted Ursula here earlier. Ursula, oh, you're right in front of me. Ursula, you played such a key role in the development of Music for Life, so thank you for all your work as well. None of this would be possible without the very generous individuals and organisations who support Music for Life. We'd like to give special thanks to the following who are currently supporting the programme. So to the Tertis Foundation in memory of Lillian Tertis, the S.E. Franklin Charitable Trust No. 3, the Milton Damerel Trust, the Howard de Walden Estate, to Carl Otto Bonnier, George Meyer, Julia Schottlander, and in memory of Michael Warburg. And also the Elton family, who generously fund Celia's position, our Music for Life producer, for 2 years, from the estate of the late Thomas and Betty Elton in memory of Sigmund Elton. And we'd also like to mention the NHS North West London Integrated Care System, who fund many of our care home projects in the local area. Thank you. It's thanks to your generosity that Music for Life continues to thrive. If you're a participant in our Music for Life programme, thank you. Music for Life is all about collaboration and connection, and it's a joy to collaborate with each of you, to learn together and to share in so many meaningful moments. So thank you for being part of our community. And if you haven't been involved with Music for Life, and this is your first experience, welcome. We're so pleased to have you with us. And we hope we'll be able to stay in touch and hope you enjoyed the day. So, in a moment, we are going to welcome back Joe, Lucy, and Hannah, who are 3 musicians from the Music for Life team. And they opened our day today with some improvised framing music. So I think we're going to get set up on stage for that now. In the meantime, just to draw your attention to your ticket you would have been given on your way in, should look like this. We have more out the back if you didn't get one. But in the spirit of reflection, which is so important with Music for Life, we'd love to encourage you to take a moment and maybe just write a thought or a reflection from the day on the back of the cards. A seed of thought, so to speak, to take with you into your lives as you go back out from here. These cards, in theory, if you plant them, they will grow into wildflowers. So they've actually got seeds in them. So, please do take those with you. And we will be having a drinks and cake reception downstairs in the restaurant. You are all really welcome to join us. And that will be happening just in a moment after our final music. So I think we can welcome Lucy and Hannah and Joe back to the stage. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and for being part of the day. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.